Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and fight fans around the world. It's your boy P. Welsh here, bringing to you UFC Fight Night. Cannonier Imavov from St. Louis, Missouri. We got the previews, the predictions, and the picks. 9-3 last week, pretty solid. A lot of favorites again winning. A couple, underdogs didn't come through for us. But we're gonna be moving on to this massive card here for the UFC Fight Night. Here we got Ryan dos Santos versus Punja Tumar in the women's strawweight division. We got 14-7 coming off a loss, and we got Tumar making her debut in the UFC with an 8-4 record. She stands 5'1" and 115 pounds, so a little bit at a disadvantage. And what I was looking at through the breakdown of this is, I think Dos Santos has a good chance to come in here and win with her grappling, get a submission, and dominate the ground. The one thing Tamar has is 3 submission losses on her record, and if she can't stand and fight too well with, if they just are trading equally, but she has to overextend to win the striking battle, I think Dos Santos can get a lot of counter takedowns for somebody that has struggled, and then that's not where you want to be on the as a striker is on the ground. One thing you really want to see from your striker is excellent takedown defense and not too many submission losses on their record. And this is not where I'm really feeling for Tomar. I think Dos Santos can really put it on her. I think she'll come out ready to bang, ready to throw hands and get dirty. I think it will be a good one. I think we'll see a very good fight to start the. I think you'll see a handy Dos Santos win, just because I think once she gets control of the fight, she'll be able to dominate Tomar, who doesn't have the experience in a big octagon like that, making her debut in the St. Louis arena, the extra large octagon. They're not in the Apex. Keep it short and simple. The fight will probably go the distance, in my opinion, but maybe we could sprinkle Dos Santos sub in there somewhere. I like to get a little bit spicy on there, but that's where I'm leaning in this first fight. Can't wait for it. After an exciting 301 card, bang, we're going to move into the next bantamweight division. We got Cody Stanman versus Taylor Lupus, 21-6-1 for Stanman, standing 5'6". The bantamweight division against 19-4, coming off a loss. Lapulus, 19-4. And I tell you what, this one is kind of going back and forth. I like Lapulus here early over the Stanman. I think the Stanman will try and get in there and mix it up on the ground, try and get the takedowns. But he won't be afraid to throw hands early and often. And I think he'll get the worst of the exchanges early in the fight. The significant strikes they trade to one another. He definitely has the advantage with the takedown offense, and hopefully he can work it in there. But if the defense is if he can hold up, Lapulus can hold up against Stanman, I think he can really do more damage in terms of just being a bad matchup for Stanman, not being able to do what he wants against somebody that he can probably control. I think this one probably goes the distance. I'm picking Lapulus here. I just don't really trust this Stanman against, I don't know. He's just never been somebody that is always garnered, the wow factor, and I always think he can be wowed back by somebody. I remember, his loss to Marab, his loss to Syed Nagumedov. So I think Lapulus kind of gets him gone here, and just takes it probably by decision, probably split decision, maybe get even sprinkles in a sub. This one can really go back and forth. That's why it's early on the card. I'm definitely picking Lapulus. I just think he's, wins over Nate Maness. He did lose to Bashrat last time out by decision, but I mean, it did stand that he can go to the decision with a pretty high-touted prospect, and I think Stanman is not a high-touted prospect, but a low-end contender, right? I think that's why we've seen him just barely contending here and there. So I'm going Lapulus here in the bantamweight division to get back on track. Hopefully we see a nice finish here some way, somehow. We didn't see any KOs last week, so we need somebody to freaking some more blood. Next, we get in the women's strawweight division, Eduarda Moria versus Dani Gomi. 10-0 versus 8-3, 4-inch on the height advantage, and that's where I'm kind of leaning towards here with Eduarda Moria. She seems to just be more complete and well-rounded. It seems like she has the metrics. She'll have the striking advantage, and she'll be able to contend herself in the grappling department. I don't see how she doesn't really get the decision victory here unless Gomes does a lot of significant strikes. I could see it being 29-28, possibly even split decision. Very close fight here. I think Gomes will do a lot of damage where it will make Eduarda not be able to play her game as well. She might fade down the stretch, and that worries me a lot. I think Gomez third round TKO is definitely live. Just having that power, having that experience in longer fights, just knowing you have the gas tank. Because if Moria's out there early and gasses herself out, as it goes on later, we could see Gomes really, really just try and throw the kitchen sink at her, try and generate more power late in the fight and doing the damage. It might be one of those things where she can close it out late. But that being said, I think Moria controls the first 2 rounds very handily, maybe starts losing the tide. I mean, I hate trying to pick somebody that I'm predicting to fade in the 3rd round, but also maybe Gomes won't have the juice herself to really put her over the top and kind of square up in the 3rd round. I'm picking Moria here. What I saw in just the buildup, it seemed like, I mean, granted, she's a slight favorite. She's an undefeated record. The competition might not have been there. Gomes has a huge youth advantage at 6 years younger, but also at a 4-inch disadvantage. So it's like 6 in one half dozen in the other. That's why I think the gas tank on Moria could fade late. But that being said, only, not a lot of decisions, could work her, on position, not submission late and control the fight. And that's why I'm leaning and will pick Moria here. Just because if she can grapple her and wear down Gomes, then she don't have that KO power in the 3rd round. It really comes down to, man, this is going to be a scrap for sure. These women's fights are so closely contested, man. It actually is something to behold as I've been trying to break them down, more accurately recently. But I'm picking Eduarda Moria. I think she'll get it done. I think, might see a new prospect emerge at the end of this fight card. Bang! Into the bantamweight division, we got my guy John Castaneda, 21-6 and a 5'6", 71-inch reach versus Daniel Marcos, 15-0. Last fight, no contest, 5'7", and his was against Al Tong Lee or something like that. And what happened was that fight, he was beating the crap out of him, and then they exchanged like 4 or 5 groin kicks in a row. It was actually comical. Marcos. Castaneda looks like he can definitely take a well-rounded decision victory over Marcos, but man, it's going to be tough because I think Marcos can really bring the volume and really bring the damage. His leg kicks were vicious, man. If you go back and watch that no contest fight, the guy's legs, he lost the adrenaline and was so hurting. He's like, I can't continue after the groin kicks. I think Marcos does a lot of damage here to John, and that's what I'm picking here. It's actually a pretty close one in the odds. Pretty much a pick 'em, but I'm definitely leaning Daniel Marcos here. Just the damage and the output I've seen him produce, like 80% pick 'em on there. I love John Castaneda, but I just don't love him in this spot. So that being said, I think Marcos, I don't know if Marcos will win by TKO. It would be a bold statement. I think it's very well possible. Very well possible, just based on the way Marcos can just do some absolute damage. If he gets legs out of Castaneda, gets him on the ropes, just starts pounding and going in there, I can definitely see Marcos getting a finish on Castaneda. Nice little fight night bonus. My man is coming out there, and look at those eyes, man. He's just looking in the camera differently. He's looking at me right now. John's like staring at the person behind the camera. Marcos is staring at me, the person looking at the picture. So I definitely like Marcos in this spot, and I definitely think he can get the finish, which is a very closely contested fight. Could come later, could come early. I'm not so sure. But I'm picking Marcos here. Official one in the bantamweight division. Bang! And the next into the bantamweight division, we got Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler, 15-3 Katona, 5'6" versus Jesse Butler, 5'10", 125, and huge reach advantage. You know, Katona is a massive, massive favorite in this fight. Going off at -600. And when I see that with the metrics so oblong, I'm often leaning to pick Jesse Butler. My man got absolutely starched by Jim Miller the last time he fought. Just absolutely one hit KO'd by Jim freaking Miller. Man, Katona definitely has what you want to see in a bantamweight division. The one thing I will say that I'm noticing here is Butler is moving down from lightweight to bantamweight, and that makes me think he's a live dog. We have another opportunity where sometimes I think these guys are just not at the right weight class, or they can't get a matchup that's super favorable for them. I'm actually thinking about doing the old switcheroo. I'm not going to pick the -600 favorite here. I'm actually going to go opposite. I think one of these big underdogs are going to pay off here for me here soon enough, and that's where I'm actually going here. Jesse Butler going down in the weight division. Just probably can't hang in the lightweight, but looking at the metrics, looking at what he's probably just going to try and do, cut Katana down. Even if Katana's leaning against him on the rope, he's going to have to do the damage. I know he'll have the output, and that's what I think he's going to get in there. Oh, man. Am I really going to go do this again? We need the official picks, man. I should make Butler earn the L. We're thinking about this one's in the think tank, the mashup. We're just going to stick with the OG. We're not giving the official whirl around reversal pick. We're going to pick Katona. But I think Butler's a live dog. I think this fight can go the distance. I definitely like the weight change for some fighters. I think that's where they really can flourish. I mean, look at Buckley going down from middleweight to welterweight. So that's something that I think the fighters have to definitely learn to adjust with over the course of their time. I believe it was his first fight in the UFC against Jim Miller. And Katona is just an absolute veteran, even in the Contender Series. All those mean much more to me than even some of these other ones that Butler has fought in. I'm going to go back and pick Katona. I'm not going to go against it, but if I'm looking for some juice in here, I'm going to go over the distance. Katona, 70% of his wins by decision. Butler wants to stand and bang, doesn't want to get KO'd. Katona and the points is really, really nice here. Is definitely what I'm going to be leaning on because, again, Butler's fighting for his life. He'll probably look a little bit better and possibly could take the fight. I might sprinkle a little bit of there might be some upsets in this one here and there. So that being said, I went away from Stanman, his twin cousin doppelganger Katona. I am picking against Butler, but definitely live dog on Butler here going down the weight class. Got to pay attention to that. He's gonna have to do something different though, but that's where I'm confident in Katona and why he's such a big favorite is just because you just know what you're gonna get from him. You're gonna get effort and you're gonna get a lot of time in the octagon, bro. He loves to scrap, and I'm not gonna go against that. But I will say this on my last parting shot: it's something like that. Just because these guys like to scrap doesn't mean somebody like Butler or Nico Price you land that one shot mid-second round, catch the round, and it does so much damage in the third that they're not the same fighter. That always could happen. That's what happened to Morono. He got caught mid-second, and he just couldn't recover. So, once you're gassed and you get hit, it might change the fight, second round specifically. But I'm picking Katona here. Let's move on. Bang! Women's flyweight, Andrea Lee versus Montana De La Rosa. 13-9 coming off a loss versus 21-9-1 coming off a loss as well. And this one I was going back and forth on a little bit myself. I was, leaning Montana De La Rosa early on. But that being said, she's on an absolute terrible run, and I have no confidence in her. A loss to JJ Aldridge is just not something you want to see when you're trying to break down. Other stuff is fine, but I got some of these older women fighters like Angela Hill and Andrea Lee coming back a little bit stronger. I definitely think she gets the job done. We'll probably see it, not a winning record in the UFC as well, coming off some bad losses, but that being said, I also think she has more of an opportunity to come back and get a win. Man, her run is actually terrible. She's like 2-7 in her last 9. But we're picking Andrea Lee here. I just think she just has a chance, right? Split against Macy Barber, lost against Maverick. That wasn't too long ago. She's fresh. She's fighting. I think she'll get the job done. Somebody's got to win this fight, right? You know what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? Metrics are pretty similar. Montana is younger, but, just because you're younger doesn't mean you'll have the output and the strategy and the experience as somebody like Angela Lee, and that's where I'm really kind of leaning towards here. It could be split decision win, but I'm giving Lee the slight favorite here. Yeah, near even money. Like, you want to see if I would have a lot more confidence if she could beat somebody like Aldridge. That means she would have like an incredible amount of output and won't fatigue. I'm going Lee just because when you just have all those rounds, all those training sessions, they just add up, and 6 more years of those in an even fight is where I like Andrea Lee here. Very close pick'em though. If don't see it very much in the women's division. I mean, I don't want to say that, might out of pocket, but very even odds. I like Andrea Lee here. Let's get it on into the welterweight division. Next, we got Charles Radke versus Carlos Prates. 9-3 versus 18-6. 5'9" versus 6'1". Radke versus Prates, and Prates. Exactly, Carlos. My guy Carlos. I'm going Carlos here. He's on an absolute tear. Now, I'm not saying I don't like Radke at all as a live dog and they do a lot of damage, but I remember the last fight that I watched, and Carlos is just a world-class striker when it comes to it. He has a 6-inch reach advantage and a little bit on the legs. I think he'll just absolutely just pick apart Radke here, and Radke will come back and bite down on the mouthpiece and exchange, and he'll have press on the rope at some point. As long as he doesn't take too much damage from Radke, I think Carlos definitely takes this fight. Just in terms of, I believe he's a world-class boxer. When you watch his strikes here, you're going to see that certain skill sets, they just shine when they've been polished over the time. Radke's got a little bit more experience, so I expect that speed to be there from Carlos. Radke coming off a big win, though, but that reach advantage with somebody with the skill set is something that I look for. Heavy favorite going off. Could definitely see this one going the distance. Just because Radke, he's not going to go down without a fight, and I think he'll be able to do a lot of damage, but just not enough to win rounds and win the fight. There's no way I'm going to be rooting for Radke to have to come back and finish Carlos. He just hasn't lost in a long time. And for somebody that hasn't lost to get finished, it could happen, but it's also likely that they're just going to, just be able to control the octagon, move around, use his length, find the angles, push my guy Radke back. And then, if Radke knows he's got to take 1, 2, 3 just to go in there to exchange, could be a long day. I like Carlos here. I didn't look at any of the round props yet, just trying to put the video together. So it's like a 14-fight card or something like that, so I had a lot to break down. Didn't want to get into too many things. But that being said, I like Carlos here, probably by KO, a little bit later in the fight. I can't be predicting KOs like this. The last few weeks has been absolutely barren for freaking sleepy sleeps. We've seen some submissions, but I think we can get back on it with a heavy KO card, back in the arenas. These guys, not so much untrustworthy fighters trying to get the job done, as in really, I think, some more high-level prospects that can really ascend today and really make a name for themselves as we get deeper into this card. I think Carlos is one of them. We're going to have to start talking about him in the welterweight division. I think he'll come in very strong with his age, with the advantage. I'm definitely big fan of Carlos moving forward here. Minus 238s. Bang! Into the lightweight division, we're going to move on here. Thiago Moises versus Ludwig Klein. 18-7, 5'9", versus 21-4-1 at 5'7". A little bit of a reach advantage for Moises. And the one thing that I had going on here is I have a tough time finding the way Moises wins this fight, right? I don't think he out-grapples him, and I don't think he outstrikes him. I think he's a very competitive fight, and I think it will be very, very beautiful to watch, beautiful chaos. We'll see exchanges, we'll see scraps, we'll see scrambles. I think we'll see a very high-level fight here in the lightweight division. a very even fight, but I also think we're getting Klein undervalued. The thing is here, they don't want to sell with the odds. It's selling tickets with the favorites. I think Klein has a chance to really put a nice win underneath his belt. Very even in the age group. Man, oh man, right? But I just think Moises doesn't have. I haven't seen that extra gear that I think Klein can produce. Right, Moises is probably more of a pure grappler with a chances to get outstruck, right, and lose somewhere. Losses to Islam and Benoit Saint Denis, nothing to create. Nothing to bat an eye about. But no monster wins, right? Unanimous decision against Bobby Green, Alex the Great Hernandez, Gigios. He's a punching bag. I like Klein here. I just think he'll end up getting the job done a little bit better. I just think he'll end up putting out the output, do the damage, and he has a win condition. I think he can. I think he can knock out Moises. Maybe at least control the fight. When you can control the fight against somebody like Ignacio Bahamondes and win in a unanimous decision, that tells me a lot about the potential fighter you are and the understanding what you're able to do in the octagon. And I think Moises will be in the same, and he'll know how to counter it. I just think Klein gets a little bit more throughout the rounds and a little bit more throughout the fight. I think we really see Klein put it on here at the end. Like I said, his defense, when you want to be a striker and outstrike him and have the defense to not get grappled, I think you're going to be in a good position. That's why I like Klein here, especially with the odds. I think it's I love Moises, dude. He's one of my favorite fighters. I'm a Brazilian fanboy, you know what I mean? If you're from Brazil, there's likely I'm going to be a fan of you. It's tough for me to pick against, but that being said, that makes me even feel that much more confident in Klein. Ludwig Klein with the official pick. I don't know about a finish, but because Moises is tough, he's only losing to absolute killers. So I like Klein by decision here, and they'll probably be pretty close. And then we're going to move on to the main card here, and we're going to have some people that we really haven't seen fight too much, but I was doing a deep dive into some of these breaking down here. We're starting off in the welterweight division. We got Miguel Baeza versus Punelli Soriano, 10-3 versus 9-4. Both guys coming off a loss. Big height advantage for Miguel Baeza, but I think a strength advantage. Soriano's moving down from the welterweight division, the middleweight division to the welterweight division, and I think that might make a big difference in this fight. Baeza is a pretty big favorite, I would say, to open up. For better reason, he has more consistency recently. Not being said, I don't like Baeza in this spot here. I think he gets out damaged against Soriano, who hasn't been on any form at all either. Couple KO, a bunch of finishes in a row, and then a couple judges losses in there sprinkled with one. These guys are not high confidence picks, right? But that being said, if the weight cut goes well for Soriano, I kind of like him here to do a little bit more damage. And I just kind of recently have just been leaning the significant strike angle in some of these closer fights. I think he'll be able to handle himself and grapple and maybe even contend, do more dirty boxing, negate the reach of Baeza. Now, that being said, I don't know if we're going to see a lot of calf kicks and stuff like that. I worry about Soriano being able to take a punch, because if Baeza just comes in there, coming in there, just coming in volume, Soriano's one that doesn't give me a lot of room to think he's going to be able to take a lot of damage, and that's why I think Baeza's got a lot of the favoritism in here. Losses to Williams, Ponzinibbio, and Filio. Those are some talented guys. Man, this one's tough to call because I kind of like the length of Baeza here. But I also like Soriano coming down as I'm picking him. We could just lean towards the odds and what they say. I think this one's a lot closer than the judges realize. I'm not gonna go in there picking Soriano just because the last time I feel like I watched him, he folded like a pup tent in a win when he got hit. Maybe going against another guy, but when the guy outstrikes you and you can't take too many punches, I'm going to go Bieza. I just think I have to lean there. I didn't really want to. I was actually wanting to pick Soriano, but that being said, I'm gonna have to have Soriano put this one on my record, and I'm gonna go pick Bieza here just to do more damage, more output over 3 rounds. I don't want Soriano to have some exchanges and then be getting beat up and be like, "Come on, man, come on, like you can do it, come back." Maybe he folds. I'm gonna pick Bieza here in the official picks. I think his run is not nearly as good, right? Like he's got the losses to those big dogs, but maybe there's been some development in there. Maybe I got to check if there was some injuries going on there, but I'm going to pick Bieza to get the job done here. If Soriano, I'm not going to be surprised if Soriano comes in here lower weight class speed and comes in with a hook. But I also think this fight probably goes a little bit longer. That's probably my lean in this, is probably go like a little bit over in the rounds. But man, it could go anyway. It could go. These fights in this main card are very close and very exciting to break down. Next, we're going to move into the middleweight division. We got Julian Marquez versus Zachary Reese, 9-4 versus 6-1. Reese, the other man, finished off a slam loss, just like Joe Solecki was previously. They were on the same card. Joe Solecki fought Grant Dawson last week, and there's no way if you get grappling and you get slammed and you get KO'd by a slam, I am no way picking you. I have no confidence. I'm going Julian Marquez. His resume is a little bit, steeped in talent. He has, Marc-Andre Barrial and Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. Like, those guys are some massive brawlers. I think Rodriguez, is basically a light heavyweight coming down fighting middleweight. Reese here has the length advantage for sure, and he's probably trying grapple and get that off. But again, I just like Marquez to maybe be able to get in a position and do some damage. If my thing is here, if Reese tries to grapple him and then Marquez reverses him and can out grapple him and do the damage, like Reese gets in one bad position, he's finished again. I don't have a lot of confidence. He's fighting, Texas, I believe he's from. Now he's fighting in St. Louis, somewhat close. Don't think that's a big advantage at all. I like Julian Marquez here, and I think he might get a finish on him. I could see it being not close. Like, I don't think this guy's as talented as Grant Dawson, but you know what I mean? It's like, I also don't think Reese can put up. He didn't show me anything, you know what I mean? Like, when you shoot for a submission and you get finished, I think it messes with your head, too. That's your whole game plan. I like Julian Marquez to come in here and just throw hands. I worry about his arms look way tinier. So, but like that being said, I need to see something from Reese. He doesn't seem like one of those guys that want to stand up. He seems like somebody wants to grapple and take advantage of you there. But you can't do that unless you have superior strength and have some hands too. I lost to Cody Brundage like that. I'm picking Julian Marquez pretty easily too. What do we got for the odds here? Let me take a look here because I wanted the Marquez minus 130. I like that again. The minus 130 guys I really like on this one. Even Marcos, and then there was the other person at Klein. I think that the minus 130 guys they have a good chance. Their opponents have clear weaknesses and clear like one-dimensional strategies, and I think a solid mixed martial art game can really win them the fights. Picking Julian Marquez over Zachary Reese. Moving on to another fight in the middleweight division. Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. 11-1 Ferreira against 15-5 Stoltzfus. A little bit of a height advantage for him, and a little bit of a reach advantage. A lot of wins, so high confidence guys. These guys both going to be thinking they're going to come in there and win. And with that being said, I think Dustin gets clipped here. I think Bruno has this one, big betting favorite. He has this power, this ferocity. He looks like he's a little bit built different than the rest of than some of the regular fighters. I don't know. I'm not picking against Bruno Ferreira, dude. I'm telling you that. I think he has multiple win conditions and flying knees. He beat up glass jaws, Phil Hawes. He beat RoboCop with a left counter like Gregory Rodriguez. Lost to Nursulin Ruzaboyov, and that's nothing too, because Ruzaboyov is a monster, right? And he had a big height advantage coming in there, and that might have been Is that at welterweight? Rustaboyov? Wow. I'm trying to figure this out because the changing of weight classes is something I have to be able to be track and different because, man, some of these guys change from welterweight to middleweight, but I like Fernandez here. Ferreira, excuse me. I'm going to give you some stuff about Stuffless. Has some potential, but, losses, KO losses to a boost. Getting choked out by Mearshart, just not high. He did beat Joe Pfeiffer on a slam arm injury, but I mean, Joe's a contender. He's got a lot of work to do. I think Ferreira here, even at the juice, is I'm pretty confident in him, and I think he can actually get a finish on Stuffless. This is one of my more high confidence picks. Just breaking it down, I'm not even going to overthink it because I think it could almost end in 30 seconds, under a minute for Ferreira potentially. I think he can come out just guns a blazing, something crazy. Bang, big. I'm a big Ferreira fan. I know he lost to Ruzaboyev, and I actually picked that right, but I also think I picked him to come back and beat Glass Jaws Phil Hawes there too. So minus 265, yeah. Sprinkle a finish in there. Going to move on to one of the more exciting fights. I kind of wish it was the co-main event, but we got our guy Raul Rojas Jr. versus Ricky Turquios, 8-1 versus 13-3. Even on the metrics, a little bit of a reach advantage for Ricky here versus Raul. I don't know how to say this. I think Ricky gets the job done. Plus 190. Let's take a look at his takedown defense. It's respectable enough. Is Raul going to just be able to walk right through Ricky, not take any damage, outstrike him, and then grapple him? I don't think so. I think he's going to make Raul's life living nightmare to get in there and try and grapple. Now, I know Rojas did get that KO win, but if you watched it, that kid looked like a schoolboy too. I think Ricky, he stuck with this fight after double cancellations, and I think he'll be able to handle his own, and I know he knows what's coming. More time to prepare makes me more confident in Ricky picking a big upset win here. Raul, very young, very raw talent, and I think he has a lot of development still to do. I don't like how the cancellations, he didn't make weight, and then his dad says Raul has stuff to take care of at home. His tummy hurts. I got Ricky all day here. I think Ricky comes out, not like he wants to beat up on a little kid, but I think a lot of these guys, these older fighters, want to put a little bit. I mean, he's 11 years older, bro. 11 years older. You know what I mean? I think that has such a huge advantage. Just in terms of gym sessions, right? In just terms of training time. I'm not going to ignore that. I'm not just going to pick a favorite just because he's a high-touted prospect. As I think that's one reason that it's not the co-main event, because he probably didn't want 5 rounds. 3-round fight. I got Ricky here, probably on the judges' scorecard, 2-1, 3-0, beating Raul again. I think I can see Ricky by unanimous decision. If Raul if he can't do damage on the feet, losing the striking exchanges, can't get takedowns and wrestle him, I don't think that happens. I'm gonna pick 190 Ricky and plus 190. I think he gets the job done. He's been in a lot, the Contender Series, Bellator, UFC. This is Raul's 4th fight, and we had a weight issue last time. Let's see if that's a factor. Now, if Raul comes in 3 pounds overweight and Ricky takes his purse and loses, whatever. We'll have to adjust that come weight time. This is why I say my picks are on my picks early in the week, and they have to weigh in and walk out for me to really want to bet and spend my money on them. I'm picking Ricky here. Picking Ricky. Raul, put that loss on my record, bro. RRJ, put that L on my forehead, okay? We're going to move into the co-main event here. I'm just going to, I don't think there's too much more to break down. I think Raul's got a lot of development to make. I think you have to pick your matchups really fine. And somebody like Ricky, he wants this, man. These guys are looking to clip these prospects early and often. And I'm not going to be surprised if Raul loses again. He's not untouchable. He doesn't feel like a Bo Nickel aura. He feels like he has the bantamweight division is full of killers. That's my biggest trepidation with somebody like Raul already being in the UFC, fighting in these big moments is they can feed him some guppy prospects, but when you're fighting a professional cage fighter like Ricky, I think you're going to have a long day until you develop a little bit more. I like Ricky here. Let's move on to the co-main event. Dominic Reyes, 12-4 coming off a loss versus Dustin Jacoby, 19-8-1 coming off a loss. I believe it was I picked Menefield against Jacoby in that fight. I was very happy. There's no way I'm ever picking Reyes in a fight this time at this point in his career. We can take a look at very close on the metrics. When you get into the light heavyweight division, I don't think this one may last that long. I'm a big Jacoby fan. I'm not a big Jacoby fan, but I just think I'm a big fan of him in this spot. I think he gets the job done. Dom, 4 losses in a row. I mean, Jacoby's lost 3 of 4. He got Zinchekwu in the first minute. I remember. Losses to Roundtree, but took him to business. Mazukarov, very big, good loss. I'm just going Jacoby here. There's not much to think about. I think he's more of a professional fighter. The Menafield loss was, I think he thought he was winning, and the judges valued Menafield's damage versus Jacoby's output. It was a very close fight. He was a big favorite, losing to Menafield there. But I just think he gets the job done here. Might even get a sneaky KO, something quick. I like Jacoby here. He just seems like he's probably just got more juice in the legs. I know he's 36, but he just seems to be a lot like he just seems more alive to me. Reyes lost to Span, and Span ain't nothing. Lost a year. These are so long ago now. 3 years out. The only person that's ever done that is John Jones. So he almost had him that night. I think we all remember that. But once you lose the juice, you lose the juice. I got Dustin Jacoby. He's recycling his juice. It's not a very high confidence pick, but I definitely have zero confidence in Reyes. So at least Jacoby had a win against Nchekwu, nice prospect. He took Menafield to the card. Whatever. I'm happy that because I personally picked it and I won some money off of Menafield, but I could have saw Jacoby winning that too. I think it. So we're picking Jacoby here. Let's not make too much of it. And then we're going to bring it to the main event of the evening. Jared Cannonier versus Nasruddin Imavov. 17-6 Cannonier versus 13-4 Imavov. Huge length advantage right now. I see 4 inches on the height. But Cannonier has those really long arms. And I think one thing those really long arms are going to do is if he can get in there, he'll come over the top and be able to do the damage, right? I like Cannonier here. I just think my man is tough as nails. I think I love Imavov too. His output, his style, he's very fluid. He's going to look really good. He's not going to be afraid. He's been there against the top of the top middleweights, but my thing is once he fought the top guys, he did win against Buckley, but Dolas D, he looked like absolute bum juice. Losses to Strickland, losses to Hawes. I just think Cannonier is as we start to ascend in these upper levels in these divisions, you really start seeing the high prospects separate themselves, and I think this is an opportunity for Cannonier. I believe it's a homecoming of sorts for him. Well, he's fighting out of Alaska. Never mind. So But that being said, I expect a nice decision win for Cannonier. He's not going to be afraid. He went 5 rounds against Strickland, won. He went against Vittori, went against Adesanya, beat Brunson, beat Gaslam, lost to Whitaker. Cannonier, this guy's no slouch, dude. No slouch. And then he has losses to Reyes and Blachowicz, so light heavyweights coming down. I think he'll be able to handle Imavov and whatever he'll throw at him, even if he's standing at the outside. I just think Cannonier, he's probably one of those great gatekeepers, right? There's levels, right? There's the championship level, and then there's the contender level, and then there's the gatekeeper level. And that's where Cannonier is just absolutely going to solidify. Could become a contender, could fight for the championship, but maybe not ascend to those levels, but absolutely will be the gatekeeper for anybody that's not a high-level prospect or somebody that can put him out, right? Just the fact that he is just an absolute... He's been in there against so many people. He has a lot of KO wins as well. I like Jared Cannonier in this fight. Coming off a 9-3 record, I'm feeling really good about these cards. I didn't do the most research. I did a lot of research for me in between breaking down 14 cards. I don't even know how long this video lasted, but we're going to do a quick recap here. We're going to go Ryan Dos Santos in the first one. We got Taylor Lupus in the second one. Eduardo Moria, Daniel Marcos, Brad Katona, but Jesse Butler, live dog. Andrea Lee, Carlos Prates, Ludwig Klein, Miguel Baeza, Julian Marquez, Bruno Ferreira, Ricky Churquios, Dustin Jacoby and Jared Cannonier. I want to go 10-4 and better. Feeling a 12-2 massive week. Let's build on it. Excited for another stacked card. So many fights. Should be awesome to watch all these people walk out to the octagon. Hope the weight cuts go well for all the fighters. Good luck. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, $100. Pick your perfect card and win $100. Welcome in. Peace and love. Catch you next week, ladies and gentlemen.